Hi, guys. Welcome back to the LittleWins podcast. Season 2, let's talk about it. Today, we're talking about self-love, identity, and advocacy with Elena Anadolis. Please tell me I said that right.
Yes, you did, of course.
Elena Anadolis, disability rights advocate. Hey, girl, hey.
Hi. I'm so excited. I haven't talked to you in like forever.
Forever. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh gosh, when you first agreed to be on the show, I was like, oh, so where do we start with your story? What should we talk about, right? Because you've been such an incredible meet for me, and that you're a powerhouse as an advocate, and you are an inspiration to me and to my daughter. And you have such an interesting way of your outlook on everything. And so I was like, okay, let's just start with the beginning. Like we did when it was just me and you when we first talked. Your story is fascinating and it's important. And I'd really love if you wouldn't mind to tell us all a little bit about your background and what led you to where you are today.
So I'm 36, I think. And I grew up in New York City. I'm one of a twin. My twin sister Elizabeth passed away 2.5 years ago from a basilar artery stroke. I grew up in a Greek family who kind of always pushed me to do what I was able to do. My mom saw from the beginning that I had a voice. I didn't necessarily want to use it, but she kind of forced me into it. As a kid growing up, I experienced a lot of discrimination culturally. But of course, my mom, the awesome mom that she is, had me advocate within the Greek community to make the church that she went to as a child accessible. And then we made our cathedral in New York City accessible. So that's where my advocacy started. I was 15 and I had Disabled in Action, which was a disability militant group, which we call it, picket the cathedral on a Greek Orthodox Palm Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you said she pushed you into it, as you know, we moms can do. But
Yeah.
I do believe that I can't speak for all moms, but if I push my kids to just try something, it's because I know with my whole heart it's going to bring them so much joy.
Well, the thing is I never wanted to be, honestly, and I say this all the time, I never wanted to be in anything disability related, because yes, growing up, I was quadriplegic and I had a rhizotomy, and I've come a very long way because I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything myself. But with my sister, who was completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, she was kind of a mirror image of what I could be if I didn't try hard enough. And not that I didn't love her, but I didn't like her because of that. So I wouldn't even take pictures with her. I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror.
Oh,
I wanted absolutely nothing to do with disability. Like, I took care of her, like when we had help, I would, watch out for her and make sure that they did the right stuff and gave her the medication and things like that. But I never really wanted to do anything. I didn't want anything to do with disability, and I did anything in my power, even if it meant hurting myself physically, to not look disabled and to fit in.
well, and so then when you say you've come a long way, let's not sell yourself short, because maybe words fail me in moments like this. If that was where you were then, and this is who you are today. And I think that when I say you inspire me, that's I have twins, right? I have twin girls, one with cerebral palsy, one without. And the thought that any of my children would ever feel that way, I don't know I'd really have to sit and come up with a game plan of how I could be most supportive. And a lot of the things that you've said in, on your Instagram page have really hit home with me. They align with the things that I've been doing. So that kind of reinforces that I might be on the right track to giving them the empowerment and as our topics today, self-love and identity. One of the things you said that really struck me was regarding parents giving children the power by saying, let's talk about it.
Oh,
Simply,
on the CPF
yeah,
video. Okay.
but simply saying, let's talk about it. Because I think if, as a parent, if you recognize obviously that a child is feeling the way you just described you were feeling, we can sometimes be like, what do I do? There's no handbook, there's no guidebook, but gosh, no one wants their child to feel that level.
But they have to in order to get to who they are meant to become.
Right. And so one of the ways to open up those floodgates is to say, let's talk about it, and make that, like you said, the child the teacher. Give them the power to say, this is what I'm feeling, and then go from there. What you said in that, and I'd love for you to expand on it if you're open to it, but going from where you were to where you are today, how did that happen? That's incredible.
I think first of all, my mom, like I said, always pushed me and never let me back down from anything. And she always treated me as if not that I didn't have a disability, but she taught me that I couldn't do certain things, but there were ways to do other things. Like I would never climb a mountain, you know what I mean? But like I could do anything. It would just take something different, a different way. Mm-hmm. And it might take me a little longer. Again, that's also something that I struggled with.
I could never do a cartwheel. You know what I mean? Like there are things that no one can do. Yeah. We all have our things.
There were things that there are things that I did struggle with in my teens, like, or in college. That's why it took me longer than average to finish school, because I was trying to party and do and this and that and go to school at the same time. But it didn't work. My body caught up to me, and I finished, but it took me a while.
Well, I didn't. So that,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
You're still you, and you're still amazing. I told you that when we first met.
But that's the whole point. Is thank you, but it doesn't matter how long it takes, girlfriend. You finished.
Mm-hmm. I finished. So, but I struggled a lot. And I pushed and she pulled, and I pushed and she pulled. And it wasn't until I would say I started at 26 when the Columbia University Medical Center opened up the Weinberg Family CP Center, which is a medical center that does continuum of care throughout the lifespan. Mm-hmm. When they asked me to do their opening speech about what the CP Center meant to me at 26, that kind of sparked a little bit of something. And then I collaborated with the Cerebral Palsy Foundation for a women's initiative project where I spoke at Cipriani's, and that sparked a little more. That empowered me, because we're talking about women's health, and I was able to, talk about what it was like for me as a female with a disability, and, not being seen as a female, not being seen as sexual, and what it was like for someone like my sister who's more involved, where that's not even a thought. Sexual health isn't even a thought for someone like her.
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
We're going to get to all of that, and I can't wait.
Yeah. So that started. And then my sister and then my grandma actually got sick with dementia. And we started with the PCA care and all the difficulties with getting help and having to be there and seeing her go through the, the process of getting worse, and, me being hands-on with her by choice,
Right.
and doing brain stimulating stuff and making her walk and do things. And then side by side, Elizabeth got sick. Before she had the stroke, she had CP, she's quadriplegic, had no use of her hands, you needed to do everything for her, but her seizures were managed.
They were or they were not?
They were managed.
Okay.
And she communicated in her own way, blowing kisses, giving you faces, spitting in your face, trying to bite you. But she communicated and she understood. She was an empath. I still say it today, she's the smartest person I'll ever know.
I wholeheartedly believe that. Did you guys have an eye gaze system, or was she able to use anything like that, or it was?
She would just look at me, blow kisses, pick up her hands. She didn't really like using an augmentative communication device, so she would like play around with it. But I'll give you an example. Like, she knew that if she cried, my dad would take her out for a ride. So like when she heard the keys,
yeah,
she would start crying hysterically. You would think like someone was literally stabbing her to death. And the minute my dad left the room to get her jacket, she would stop and start laughing.
Yeah, the clarity for the people on that is that my child with cerebral palsy, when, starting at the beginning, she would scream sometimes, like you say, in such a violent manner, where I would sometimes be like, the neighbors are going to call the police and she just wants a cookie before dinner.
But
like,
the whole point was
she knew
that she was manipulating my dad.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And this woman technically, scientifically, has a third of her brain.
Brilliant, though.
You understand what I'm saying? So
of course.
Then they started giving her generic seizure medication, and she started having breakthrough seizures. And from that, she had aspiration pneumonia.
What's aspiration pneumonia? I've not heard of that. I know pneumonia.
Aspiration pneumonia is when you aspirate on your saliva.
Gotcha.
And then it goes into your lungs.
So was it a side effect? We don't know. I mean, we could probably have.
It was because of the seizure. It was because of the seizures.
And was it because she was just on the generic seizure medication?
Yes.
So what happened to the seizure medication that she needed to be on?
The name brand?
Yeah.
Insurance won't cover it unless the doctor fought, and the doctor didn't want to fight. He insisted that the generic drug was the same, and it's not. The compounds
it's not the same,
are different.
And this is a huge problem that I am super open to attacking, because I've seen this happen too many times, where these medicines, I believe in Eastern and Western medicine, but they are of compounds and components that are specific to what the diagnosis is, and there's a reason why that one is prescribed when doctors really care, or I believe a lot more doctors care than appear to. They just haven't been given the time to.
They don't have the time with managed care. They don't have the time.
A whole nother barrel of monkeys. But the fact that all of this was a result of the only medication you could get is unacceptable.
And she aspirated 6 times. She ended up having to have a tracheostomy, so they had to open her up. And then she has to have a feeding tube, which caused other issues, which caused weight gain, tremendous weight gain.
No.
Which is not good for her.
No.
When you have CP, I'm not saying be anorexic, but be lighter, because it's easier for you to move, or easier for someone else to lift you, and stronger. Yeah. And we've so that was that. And then my dad got sick. And he actually had a pulmonary embolism and had 2 blood transfusions. And the doctor refused to lower his medication of the anticoagulants, the blood thinners, for the pulmonary embolisms. And he literally, if my brother hadn't brought him to the hospital, if he was 2 minutes late, my father would have died. So this happened twice. And then my mom fired the hematologist was like, this is ridiculous. He's like, no, we have to treat the condition. Yeah, but every time
No. Next.
he
Yeah.
tastes it,
No.
you're telling me that he's gonna have to come and like
Mm-hmm.
have a blood transfusion?
No, this is why you always have to, and it's so annoying and it's time consuming because that's a whole nother like kaleidoscope of things that it takes in just that one aspect of your life to help one person of the many in your life. That if that doctor isn't going to listen and help, then you always have to get a second opinion.
Well, yeah,
which
and
is a whole like then you do
that's
it
a
all
whole
over again. Then you do it all over, but you have to.
right. And my father, he speaks the language, but he's predominantly is Greek. So like he understands, but like when he expresses himself, it doesn't come out in a way that people that don't know him understand. So like I have to be there for him too. So we went to this other hematologist, and he did a test for latent factor 5 mutation, which is a genetic blood clotting disorder that's that can be found in Eastern European / Greek people of Greek descent.
Mm-hmm.
What he did was he lowered the dose of the anticoagulant and kept him on it for longer. And he went every 3 months and got a certain type of test. It's called a D-Doppler, which shows your level, your blood clotting levels, and was checked. The minute he found out that he had that, Elizabeth and I and my brother got tested. Turns out Elizabeth and I had it.
Fascinating. Somebody out there needs to hear this so that they know what to do. This is important.
So this is where the drama starts.
Elizabeth just now? Oh, only now.
Only now. This is where the drama starts.
Oh God.
So Elizabeth,
where's my weighted sloth?
Trouble with her seizure meds, and we were arguing with the neurologist, and we went to other neurologists, but they didn't want to see her. And we went to the hematologist, and we're like, okay, well, Elizabeth is immobile because of the CP. She's gaining weight because of the, feeding tube.
Side effects of all the things. Yeah.
Right. Are you going to give her anything for it? He says, well, her blood's kind of weird and it's clotting, but I don't think it's not a hematology thing. It's a neurology thing. And they kept going back and forth.
Yes. Then you get, it's like, what is that? A pinball machine? It's like a pinball machine.
Right.
I've been here before. I've been here before.
Right.
And you're like, no, everybody take a knee.
Right.
You take your big brain and you take your big brain.
They wouldn't come together. Ooh. So what ended up happening is he never gave her anything for the blood clotting. Not even a baby aspirin. He gave me a baby aspirin after she passed away because I said to him, hello, what are you doing? And
so it was ultimately the blood clot. It was ultimately the blood clot.
She had a basilar artery stroke, which means that the back of your head, the back of your brain is completely destroyed. Usually they have what's called locked-in syndrome, where you know what's going on, but you can't express yourself. And I think the CP and the severity of the CP worked for her because she would try to do things that she did before. She couldn't, but she would try. Usually, if you live past, I think, the 4-month mark, you're going to live.
Yeah.
So she was on a ventilator. We had finally gotten her, well, first of all, going back, when she had the basilar artery stroke, they didn't want to do an MRI.
Why?
Because why should they? She's quadriplegic. She has no quality of life. She's on a ventilator.
Let me at them. Okay, this happened to me multiple times. My history with Ava, when you said your doctor said the blood was weird, it just triggered me a little because when I had this C-section and Ava suffered, this is what they called it, a mystery, I'm doing air quotes, which I hate doing, but like a mystery skull fracture in a C-section delivery that resulted in a significant brain bleed. And she wasn't breathing for 11 minutes. And it was so nonchalant in the way that they said it. and wanted to ask me things like, do you want an MRI, or I was like, I want all the things.
No, they didn't. My
I
mom
want all the
argued.
things.
My
Give it up.
argued. Yeah,
And then
no.
you fight, and you have to fight like hell.
And they were just like, well, this is what she had. And then we're like, now what? And they're like, well, nothing. Like, you take her home and you wait and see what happens. And my mom's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't accept nothing as an answer, because I just think, as developed as we are, we're obviously clearly disconnected from each other, but as a collective of individuals, we have the intelligence, we have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have the experience and history in order to help each other out. It's the fact that we are not helping each other out.
No, you don't.
These moments.
This is why I'm doing this, because someone can learn something from my story.
And that's why I want you to be here. Yes.
And growing up, we didn't have that. Everyone was hush hush. No one helped each other out. My mom always did. She advocated for the Greek community, but no one ever shared information. So this is why I do what I do, you know. But going back, and I forgot, before the vascular artery stroke, when she first had the tracheostomy after the 6 bouts of aspiration pneumonia, they wanted to put her in a nursing home. And I said, you can't put someone with CP in a nursing home, because all they're going to do is sit in the bed, have her sit in bed and play with the things. Even if I was sitting in a bed and you were playing with knobs, I wouldn't breathe.
Well, and it's not good for your body. It's not good for it. Because how old was she? 32? 2032. Yeah, sounds about right.
32.
My concept of time is very similar, but 32. Okay, so we know that you need to be upright for gravity to help you gain muscle strength and bone density, and for your body to grow to the best of its ability.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because she's quadriplegic. She has no quality of life.
Well, I disagree with that. And I wholeheartely, I believe life is life. And I would challenge anybody who differs.
That's not my, these are not my words.
I know, and I know that you and I are aligned. I would challenge anyone who is about, and we're not going to go here, but it's a point, who is saying that women should not be allowed abortions, when we know that any single situation is entirely different. You're going to fight for that life, but you're not going to fight for the ones that are existing.
No, because they drain the system.
I have a humongous problem with that.
Sorry,
and about a billion follow-up questions. And I like challenge. I'm not usually like this actually in a podcast, but like, if anybody's out there that hears me, you're like, you got something to say, come at me, bro. I am here for solutions. There's nothing about what you just told me, because if it happened within their families, if it happened to someone they loved, these people who fight for life that hasn't existed yet, if these things happen within their family, where would they?
They would probably lock them away somewhere. You know, so we fought. My brother, my mom, and I went to several different ventilator weaning programs, and we finally found Kessler, which was a multidisciplinary approach. They did in New Jersey. They did speech therapy, OT, PT, like a regular CP related rehab.
Plus rehab. Wait, for those who may have missed it the first time, is it Kessler?
Kessler Institute. Yep.
Is that with a K?
Yes, Kessler.
Well, we can include it in the notes, but like, we're going to add some resources. We're going to get people to where they need to be.
So she was there. Tell me why she was breathing on her own and only using the ventilator before the stroke. This is before the stroke. I went all over the place. Before the stroke, she was only using the ventilator at night to rest her lungs. And the only reason that we kept the tracheostomy hole open was because in the event that she had a seizure, so that she wouldn't aspirate anymore.
She wouldn't aspirate. Yeah.
She actually, the weirdo that she is, I
That's
still
her. Hey, girl.
talk about her. I love you.
Yeah, totally.
She was still breathing through her mouth and her nose.
Just a fighter.
Like,
That's a fighter.
so you know what I'm saying? So the only
Yeah.
reason we even kept it open was because just in case she aspirated.
Mhm.
She didn't, the doctor said that she's unbelievable.
Well, you just gave me chills. I mean, I feel like so many times in any given day, I'm like, you're unbelievable. And I never know if people want to hear that. It's tricky because I think you're unbelievable. Do you want to hear that, or do you want me to say that, good job? Sometimes people are like,
Well,
I
it
don't want to be
depends. It
treated.
depends. Well, it's coming from you, so I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
it depends in what context you mean it in terms of the person. Like if you're saying that I'm unbelievable because I'm doing something that someone else does, but I'm doing it because I have a disability, then no. If you're saying, like you say that that I inspire you, I, Elena, as a person, inspire you. But
Yeah.
the fact that I do things that other people who don't have disabilities do is not inspirational.
I get that. But as a form of identity, I felt like it would be a good place to just take a second and say, everything that you just told me is a series of events, right? A massive series of events that no human, no matter what your ability or disability or whatever your sexual, racial preference, like whatever it is, if it occurred to any other living being, there are choices that we make, because I've been through some things too, and I can relate on that. I think what's incredible is that you take these things, and instead of saying, this happened to me and that's why I can't do this, or that's why I don't want to do this, or like I'm scared, or I'm too vulnerable, or it's too much for me, and you're not waiting for Superman or any other validation from anybody else. You just say, okay, so here's what I'm going to do next. And you carry it with you, and you work on the damage that it did to you. But meanwhile, knowing that there's this quote, I'll bring it back, I promise. At the end of the first Peter Rabbit movie that I saw with my kids, I don't know who said it, but it really stopped me, and it's reminding me of you right now. It is within healing others
That you heal yourself.
Yes. And it was like, that's why I'm doing it. I mean, I've been sitting at my desk at 2 a.m. being like, am I freaking insane? But like, it isn't with helping and healing others that you do so yourself. And I think what you just told me was you had a cluster of events in every relationship you have in your personal life. And what you did was advocate for them. And after the church and your speech and all of these things, and did it build momentum up from that, and doing that, advocating for your family, was that a huge catapult for you?
That was it made me realize that I can help people, not only my family but other people, and that I want to.
Did it help you heal you too?
I'm never going to be healed. She was my twin, a part of me. She's a part of me, you know what I mean? Like
I
I'll
do,
give you
because
an
I have
example.
them. I
Right. I'll give
understand.
you an example. I was sitting in my bio class one day, and all of a sudden my head starts hurting, and she was in a program. The special ed program was downstairs and regular ed was upstairs. And my head started hurting, like really bad. Like I got stabbing pains in the back of my head. And I told my ed paraprofessional at the time, someone who helped me around school, and I was like, something's wrong. Like, can we just like walk around, get water, whatever? She's like, yeah, sure. And she looked at me weird, and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know, I don't feel good. And we walked around for about 15 minutes. I probably missed my bio class, but whatever. And I was like, I still don't feel good. And she's like, okay, what do you want to do? You want to go home? I said, no, let's go downstairs. I need to check on Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. So I go into Elizabeth's class and I go into the teacher and I'm like, where's my sister? And she's like, she went home. And I said, why? She goes, because they were transferring her from the bathroom potty chair, the tumble form, to her chair. And she fell forward and she hit her head and cracked her tooth.
Well, I'm glad you landed on tooth. Like that's the best of worst case scenario. But okay, this terrifies me because my daughter is transferred from a toilet chair every day. And I've been in the classroom. I've been with all the teachers every single year. I've purchased the exact things that she needs to
It was
feel
hours from
comfortable
home.
going potty.
Yep.
Just to make sure, because this is something that, keeps me up at night. But that's sixth sense. Is it a sixth sense? Is it just like the connection that we have with each other is not, twins is like a level up from it. But the only way I can relate to you, Elena, is that as a mother, there have been moments where for example, I drove to Jonas's school 2 years ago early. Something propelled me. I just got up, walked to my car, started driving to his school. And halfway there, I was like, I'm going to be so early. Why am I doing this? I'm never early. I'm like that mom, disheveled, kids everywhere.
Well, it's hard to get a hold of you in general, so I know.
I'm like, you're welcome. We got them here. They're clean and fed, and we did the thing. I'm early. And I'm sitting in the car line and I was like, why am I here? I look over at that exact instant and this other boy, an older boy, shoved my son. I saw the whole thing from the back so suddenly that his head flew back, like he didn't see it coming at all, off the top of this play structure on the playground. I didn't even know where Jonas was at the time. It was what I saw right when I turned my head. And he flew off the top, hit the ground, and it knocked the wind out of him. And I'm getting out of the car. And as soon as he could take a breath, he said, I want my mom. And I was there. I was 15 minutes early. But like what you just said about your sister, what I said about my son, like people, I think sometimes second guess that instinct. They're like, where is it coming from? And that sounds silly. Like, or they can't make sense of it. And so they don't follow it. But I wonder what would happen if they did more often.
I know, I have a lot more stories.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm like, I'm only going to share one. But for the people, if you ever second guess those things, or maybe it makes no sense. And like you said, I'm missing my class, that I have no reason to go downstairs or whatever, outside of the fact that I have a feeling I need to. What if you just follow that feeling? And if it ends up being nothing, what's to lose?
Right.
I think more people should do that. But I was right there.
Yeah. It's a mom's instinct.
It's a twin instinct. It's a people instinct that people embody. So she chipped her tooth. She was all right from that? Well, thank God it wasn't her like.
No, she chipped her tooth and she had a like scratch mark, like in the form of an X here. And for years, the only person that could lift her and transfer her anywhere without her screaming was my dad.
Well, I'm sure my child has fallen in other people's care. Sensitive topic. But when she is with me, every once in a while she'll say, like, she'll get nervous and say, well, I don't want to fall. And I literally get on my knees and I say, have you ever fallen in my care? One time in almost 8 years. Have you ever fallen? Have you ever been injured? Have you ever, not one time? And do you know how hard? That's the best track record I've ever had. That's like perfection, people.
My mom hasn't even done that.
Not one time. And I fight so hard for that. And every time I say that, it works. But at the same time, me as the woman, as the mom, I'm like, God, I can't let it happen. Like, I gotta really, because it works. She trusts me. She knows that I wouldn't let that happen. But then you have to let them go to school, because that's super important. Hello, they need to go to camp because they love it. And because camp also needs to know how to be inclusive. We work together,
Mm-hmm.
You have to ultimately send them out into the world and be like, come on, people, let's work together.
But you also have to make sure that they're able to express themselves if they have that
Super
ability.
important. And that was one of the identity questions I wanted to ask you about. What I found for Ava that was most empowering. I had to wait till 6 or 7. She's just now almost 8, where she could really understand. This is for all my girls. Express what you need as help. Always first lead by what you can do. For Ava specifically, you must try. If getting in the car, you can reach up on that handhold and you look like a hero doing it, and pull yourself up, like you were saying before, in like weight and helping, when others are helping you move into a car. I'm picking Ava up and she's almost over half my size. Like, I'm working out just to make sure that I'll never have a day I can't throw that kid over my shoulder, because I won't have that happen. But I need you to try
to
as
help
much
you.
as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work together. So
right,
throw
and
that
you'll be there to balance
navigate.
Her and push her tushy up. You know what I'm saying?
I do it. Yeah. Oh, do I know what you're saying? Yes, I do it multiple times a day. But you grab a hold, you pull yourself up, and she will feel that too. And she must be taught along the way what she can do, because if I'm not there, like you're saying, I want her to be able to say, I need help doing this. I'm going to do this. She's cognitively able to do that. She just needs to know what she should say, what of her needs she needs to voice. And I gotta say, though, with 3 other kids that people would call, typically developing, although, it's questionable a lot of days, everyone has to do that. I will do this. I need help doing this. And that's why I say to them, I heard what your demand was, but I didn't hear the question. It's super important. I need help with this. And then act on that.
That's for any child and any human, whether you're
any or not. Human, period. Yeah, absolutely. So all of this, you took it as fuel, and also all those sparks in your minds that you said, and it snowballed into who you are today.
It did. It took me some time after Elizabeth passed away. I didn't want to do it at all. I didn't do it for about 2 years. So recently, I stopped my work with, I still went to, my meetings for the cerebral palsy center, even though I didn't want to go. I cried. And I told my mom I'm not going. She's like, nope, you got to go. You have to go for the other patients. You have the opportunity to represent them around a group of people that other people don't have. So you have to do it. And if you're not going to do it for you, you got to do it for Lizzie.
That is heavy, because that's not everybody's way of, your mom sounds like a hero. So this is not, and I don't know her, but as a human, sometimes we can feel so fragile. And
I wanted to lie in bed and die. When my sister passed away and my grandma passed away, because they passed away within 2 years of each other, I didn't know who I was anymore. I said, you want to know what? I don't have to do advocacy, because there's nothing. I said to myself, there's nothing special about me.
Oh,
Lizzie was what made me special. I don't need, what do I need? What do I need for myself? Nothing. I can speak, I can do whatever. If I don't like someone's face, if I don't like the way that a doctor, speaks to me, I can get up and I can leave. But there's nothing, there was a point where I was like, my advocacy and whatever I thought I was going to do with the rest of my life is done. There's nothing for me to share. She's gone.
Well, I think that that's called a metamorphosis, right? These things I've had in my life too, the things that just like take you out and make you, you just like to rubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to rebuild. Take of what you were that you still resonate with, make peace or friends or whatever you want to call it with the things that you can no longer be. And in those moments, always I had to think, I have a choice here. This not great thing happened to me. Is it going to consume me every day? Is it going to define me ultimately? And is it going to be a factor in every decision that I make? Will it weaken me because I'm scared? Or will I turn that fear and that horrible experience into, and it takes a long time, but ultimately I'd be the only person who suffered. If, right? Like if it consumed me, I would be the only person who suffered.
If it consumed you, yes, but if you have something to give and you're not giving that to other people, then other people suffer. That's the way that I.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's what clicked.
That's the click.
Yep. And also the fact that what clicked for me was, we were at a certain hospital in New York City back and forth for 6 years. And, we fought with them. We wrote letters to administration and we made changes in the procedure and the way that, Elizabeth was cared for while she was alive. She still went in her own time. I think she was ready. And in some ways, I'm grateful that she went when she did, because she wouldn't be able to make it through COVID. It would be extremely impossible.
Yeah.
So I'm, it might sound weird to some people, but I'm grateful. And I think she knew it. She knew something.
We don't care if people think this sounds weird, okay? Because I always say in every podcast, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. We are not scripted. We're having a conversation. And in any conversation, if people would just open their eyes, there's a billion opportunities on any given day to ask a question and then just wait and listen for the answer. And in that is a pearl of something that will probably be really useful for you.
So
share it.
Right. So then Elizabeth, during the time that we were there, we wrote letters, we drove everyone crazy. My dad almost got kicked out of the hospital a couple of times.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But we were able to still build a relationship with the staff. And it got to a point where my mom actually felt comfortable going home and taking a shower. Like my mom wouldn't leave her side, which is amazing. But what really resonated with me and got me up is during COVID, we had met a family, a Greek family who was in a similar situation as Elizabeth, and their daughter, still alive, but she's on a ventilator and all that stuff. And during COVID, she needed to go to the hospital. And her father called me up. He knew that I had the number of one of the administrators of the hospital and was like, Elena, EMS won't let me go into the hospital with her. You know that Vanessa can't go in there by herself. And I said, hold on, let me see what I can do. The administrator, I texted her and she's like, I'm on vacation, but I will call you.
Yes.
She was on vacation. She literally
sent people
a picture of her kayaking. She called me and she said, okay, I'm on vacation till Monday, but Elena, go to this website and look for this. It was a New York state law. She didn't tell me what it was. She said, she pointed me in the right direction. And
you're right.
There's a New York state law that says that if a person has a developmental disability or cannot communicate, they get one caretaker to go with them.
100%. That's why I was trying to hold back, because I just had that whole speech about listening. But no, you need to know your rights. People need to understand that when you get turned away, and that instinct we were talking about earlier, and that doesn't feel right with you, or even make any common sense of any form, it's actually your right. Know your rights, and all you have to say is, I know this is my right. That one goes for anyone with a disability. They cannot refuse you. I don't care. I've looked into it. It doesn't matter what the circumstance or new Black Plague is around.
So what I did was
can't.
I sent the link to the law to the dad on his phone, and he showed it to EMS, and he got in. Also, yep. when she got blood clots, and she had blood clots in her arms, when she got blood clots, what did they immediately do? They put her on an anticoagulant.
And what'd you say?
When she needed, you know, something with suctioning, or the way that they were coordinating care, they did it the way that they had learned from Elizabeth. And he said to me, he goes, Elena, I just wanted to let you know that if it wasn't for you and your family and for Elizabeth, my daughter wouldn't have gotten the care that she needed. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, Elena, you need to snap out of it. Like,
this is why. This is your moment. It's everybody's moment, especially yours. But this information is so, we have the answers to each other's problems. You have to be vulnerable enough to, one, pick yourself up, right? Pick yourself up when everything fell apart, broke your heart smashed it into smithereens. And you find that strength in what you said was, I could help other people. And with the knowledge I've gained, I'll share it all. If it keeps someone else from having to go through the same experience, we have that power. It's massive. It's super simple, actually. It's the old school village mentality. I've been there.
It takes a village.
It's a village. I've been there. Here's what I learned. Make sure they don't tell you this. It's a network that we have the capability. We have every tool on the internet to connect. We're not connecting that way, unfortunately, but we will be. And what you're doing and empowering so many other people from your pain points is so critical for in my belief, in my humble, and who am I? I'm just another.
You're a human being.
I'm just another speck of sand. But
you're not, though.
But in my humble opinion, we are so much more powerful when we share our experiences and the knowledge, so that if in any event it keeps one other from going through that, there is so much power, and there's so much healing for you in healing someone else.
There definitely is. And that was my moment. I was just like, thank you, Lizzie. When I heard those words from that father, I was just like, that's it, Elena, you need to get out of your rut.
That might have even been Lizzie. She's like, stop, girl, get your stuff together. Let's ride. Like, it's go time, honey. And she'll always be, I don't know, you know.
No, she's always around. She's
a force. Yeah.
She is. She'll always be a force.
You're a force.
So I try. I have my moments. You know, I still have my mom who picks me up off the floor.
But that's what I was saying is that it's all right to take the pause and to be vulnerable. I never said it wasn't. That's been the hardest lesson for me to learn, is to be able to take moments. If you know, my kids are somewhere else for a second, I'm like running around still, like with phantom limb, trying to like make sure that everything is okay for the kids, when I forgot that if I'm not okay,
they're not going to be okay. But then you feel guilty. But then you
get all guilty and weird.
Yep.
So I've started to like break that up into somewhat equal parts, where, okay, if I have 4 hours where they're not here, maybe for 1 hour I, you know, work out or meditate, or maybe take the full shower. like the full one where you do all the things. Or I read or listen to a podcast. And then the other things, like the other 3 hours, I can prepare their lunches, make sure that their extracurricular activities are okay. But to not feel guilty to take that time has been really hard for me. And
you're a caretaker, you're a caregiver, and you're a mama.
But I felt like I kind of heard a little bit of you like that in you when you said that, you felt guilty for feeling sad. Maybe it's like a human thing.
Well, I feel it now, like when I go out with my friends and things like that, and my mom has to stay home with my dad. I'm like, I don't want to leave you, mommy. You have to come with us. And she's like, you're 36.
Beat it, nerd. Get out.
I was like, no, you're coming with me. I don't want to leave you alone with daddy. Daddy's going to drive you crazy. And she's like, go. I'm like, but I feel bad. I don't want to leave you alone.
And
like,
I think that's beautiful, but
and like, I literally the other day we went to, where do we go? We went to the Hamptons. We went to a charity softball game, and I met former President Bill Clinton.
Yes, I saw the picture.
But literally while we were driving there, I was crying because I was like, I just left my mom and I'm gonna go and like spend the day outside, and she gets stuck home with my dad doing whatever she's doing, and like my mom could be here with me, and like I was like sobbing, and my friend was looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oh gosh, like, what are we doing to ourselves? Okay, so your mom probably was at home being like, I just sent her out on her own and we're all just beating ourselves up. Okay, let's just like, maybe if we clap 3 times. I always believe in like clapping actually brings up the energy. Moms, caregivers, people, self-love, identity, advocacy, we can be all things in one. It's about breaking up the time and really, really dedicating yourself to that moment, to yourself, and then you can give to everybody else and everything else. Otherwise, how can you? I learned that the hard way, exhausted, staying up all night, trying to work and trying to build a website, and also make homemade waffles in the morning and be everybody's everything, until I was like, I'm so tired. I don't know where this motor is coming from, but like, I want to keep it going. So how do I make it healthy? How do I keep it healthy? And for you to drive away and miss your mom. I bet your mom's at home being like, oh gosh, now what do I do? But I have to have hope. And I'm pretty certain from what you've told me about your mom that she felt she had armed you with the tools to have the best time on your own, which is my goal for Ava, but not just Ava, all of my children. My goal is to give them the tools they need to advocate for themselves and each other, and to be good people and true to themselves.
Their authentic selves.
Yep. And I will fight for that every single day, so that when they drive away, I know they've been given the little toolbox of things that they can dip into when they need to.
It takes time, but it's possible.
Oh, it's a journey.
It is a journey. And it's a constant journey. You're still.
Is there anyone who inspired you along the way? I mean, when it comes to like an identity, when you said, we've covered so many things, when you said you went from not being able to look at yourself in the mirror, which takes honestly the oxygen out of my chest and it breaks my heart, into
mom would yell at me like, Elena, you need to look at yourself in the mirror. You need to like see if you have eye boogers.
Thank you for that vulnerability, because I'm pretty sure everybody's had a moment, maybe not exactly like yours, but it doesn't have to be. It's there on their level and their capacity for understanding that same feeling of like, I can't look at me today. But well, because not everybody says it.
The person that I appear to be isn't the person that I am on the inside. And that's a lot of things. That's a lot of what I had to struggle with, because in my head, all my life with whatever I did, still can't. And I get yelled at every day for this. I can't connect my head with my body. So in my head, I can rock climb and do everything the way that you can. But then when I try to do it, it's like, okay, Elena, you now have CP, and I can't accept it. You know what I mean? So
I hate that for you. Can I tell you something? So if you're referring to my recent Funtopia adventure.
well, no, that was just an example. I can climb. There's adaptive rock climbing.
But I want to tell you, can I just tell you from my experience where you're at? I don't honestly think these barriers, and I want you to hear me wholeheartedly from every ounce of my being. There have been so many moments in my life where I felt like there is no possible way. There's no possible way. It doesn't even make any actual sense that I would be able to do any one of these things. And rock climbing was terrifying for me at Funtopia. Hey, Funtopia. It was a lot of fun, actually, and terrifying at the same time. But I left feeling like, yeah, I did that too, and helped Ava climb too. But I have gnarly arthritis in this hand. I'm only 38 years old. My body hurts a lot often because of whatever my autoimmune disease is that no one can figure out. It's like a burning pain every single day that I live with. And every single morning I have that Rudy style locker room chat with myself that, yeah, I can. And I will, just like I did the day before and the day before, for my kids, but also for me and for my human experience. So I'm going to hold on to whatever grip thingy and latch myself into whatever your carabiner's situation is. And I'm going to do as much as I possibly can physically, even though maybe on the outside you would see me and you think that isn't the case, but that's what's happening. And because it's my life, like we said, it's my human experience. I can be a victim of whatever, or I can flip it and say, I'm going to do whatever I can. And I'm going to have the best time doing it, because we don't know what tomorrow is. Let's just go, people.
Live every day as if it's going to be your last. That's what I say.
Let's just go. 100%.
And just do it.
I don't care about, I mean, obviously we're trying to figure out whatever is going on with everybody at any given moment, but like, can we just at some point say everybody's got something? We're all just people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that some things are harder. Don't think I don't know that.
I know that you do.
But don't think that I don't understand what that feels like. And what I want you to feel next time is just like, look what I just did. And that's what I want all my kids to feel always, which I think is a huge form of self-love. But what I wanted to ask you was, when we were talking about, well, you brought up self-love, and I've been kind of like adverse to maybe the way we've made the word sound in, just pop culture right now. But what does self-love mean to you?
To be able to look at myself and say, you want to know what? I'm enough. I have something. I have more than enough to offer myself and other people. And it's okay to say no.
Huge one. Huge one. Yeah.
It's okay. And it's okay to do things differently. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to ask for accommodations.
Yeah. Fight for them. There's a lot of self-love in that.
So that's, for me, that's what it is. And for me to have, the courage to put myself out there, whether it be if I see a cute guy and in my head, it's like, oh no, he won't talk to me because I have CP. Who the hell cares? Just go for it.
Do you care? This is a battle for every person.
No, I understand that, but that's what it is for me now. It's a point, it's come to a point, and it's been like this since like my epiphany of, you know, I have something to offer, I need to do this. I've taken a different approach to life. As long as I'm not hurting anyone, I'm just going to do me.
Because it's your life.
Right.
Because ultimately it's your experience. So you always have to weigh out in any given moment, like I do. If I put myself out there, if the risk is this, am I going to go to bed at night, even if I fail and I fall flat on my face like a million times, or that guy doesn't talk to me, and that happens. Nope, it happens. Or if like, you know, whatever, something.
But it's happened, usually, but it's happened to me before. So like, but before I wasn't able to, you know, it hurt me more. Now it's like, whatever.
Am I going to go to bed tonight being like, I did the best for me. I had the best time. I have no regrets. I left it all.
No, not at all.
Today. I don't care if I lost. I knew I did, like you said, I was a good person. I fought for the rights of others. I did like a thing for me and a million things for a million other people. And I put myself out on a ledge. Am I going to go to sleep tonight being like, yeah, Lex, we feel good about, that's what it's about. That to me is self-love. I think just being able to put yourself out there in the format of weighing it out. Will I be disappointed in myself if I don't try?
Yes, I think you'll be more disappointed in yourself if you won't try rather than try and not get the outcome that you want.
And oh boy, when it works. Okay, so you fall on your face like a billion times first, right? Like we both.
Right, exactly.
But like whatever. It's worth it because when it works,
it works.
When you tell, like you said, when that gentleman called you and let you know that the information you had given him had helped change the course of a path of someone else's life in a medical situation. And when I, you know, anytime I've been that vulnerable to share and it helps someone else, what other feeling is there?
For me, nothing. If that's the last thing that I do,
we good. Yeah, we did it.
It's never gonna be enough because I'm me, but, and that's why like I'm here talking to you. But if that's what it took and that's what they got out of it, that's all we ever want. What did my parents want? My parents wanted support. They didn't get it. They went out and they got it themselves. They figured it out themselves. So why are you gonna not share? Why are you going to have another family or person struggle when you know you have some information that might help them?
You have the answers. Yep. And you and I are completely aligned on that. For identity, because that was another topic that you picked. How do you identify yourself?
As Elena first and my disability second.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say that, but
first person language.
First person language.
I'm able to switch it around. I don't have a problem with switching it around because you have to adapt to certain situations.
We all do.
You know,
you shouldn't have to in that.
And people have their own opinions about that.
We don't care.
But I'm comfortable enough to go back and forth now. If you spoke to me 5 years ago and you said the word disabled, I'd be like, no. But now I'm able to differentiate and say, okay, well, you want to know what? In this situation, that's what I've, and I'm okay with it. But my preference is first person.
First person language, yes. But when you're talking,
which means for those who know, Elena, just like, you know, Lexus introduced me, she introduced me as Elena and then secondary disability advocate. And at first, remember when you sent me the email, you said disability advocate Elena Andolis, and I said, no, Lex, we have to switch it because I'm Elena first.
Well, you know me, I've always been the person first language. I've been since 3 years ago when I did that whole discovery, it was just the format of how we've been doing podcasts, and your correction stands true. I was like, thank you. I stand corrected.
No,
I wasn't treating you what
no,
I
you weren't. I know
what
you.
I did
But
was like try not to treat you in a whatever like Special Olympics kind of way. Like I just didn't want
no,
to
no,
say like
I didn't take it like that. I'm just saying like I'm me first, and then whatever titles I have, whether it's like an MSW, PT, whatever it is,
straight up. And
secondary.
you
You
were
know,
and you were 150% correct. And what did I say? Yeah, duh, totally knew better. Thanks for the correction. Woo. I was also making pancakes at the time that I was dictating that email. So it's like just a shred of whew. But when you're talking to yourself, because I have these chats, you know, when you're like washing your face, you're going to bed, maybe affirmations or mantras, like the things that I say to myself when it feels heavy. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm that person that I'm trying to
warrior.
harm.
Sometimes you're not the woman warrior.
No, no, sometimes I'm just a girl and I'm feeling like beaten up, man. But I wake up, it's gotta be some kind of like problem I have every morning. I just wake up ready to like everything that happened yesterday didn't even happen. I'm like, let's go, folks. But sometimes
There's not a mantra. I just honestly, I think of my sister's smile, and I think of her in English it's Eskimo kisses,
oh,
and it or her trying to bite my cheek and then me yelling at her. So it's honestly that's what I picture. Or my grandma when she before she passed away, how she would caress my back.
yeah.
That's what I do. So it's not really, Elena, you can do this. It's just picturing them.
But that is, Elena, you can do this because you got that energy from those Eskimo kisses and your sister who clearly was, I mean, outstanding from just a medical standpoint, what she was able to withstand and overcome for such a long duration of time, a warrior, truly. And I don't mean that in the way that like other people are going to think I'm like doling out compliments. You know me well enough to know I don't say that, but clearly that's a warrior. That's her breathing that into you.
Right.
And sometimes you need that caress. God, don't we all?
And
From
I actually sleep with a pelican and her headband wrapped around the pelican's neck. And
yeah.
every morning I say, "Good morning, Lizzie." And that's
Stop, Lizzie. Like, you know, these are the things that whatever it takes to keep you going, because we're a little bit outnumbered here in the population, in the folks that are not trying to do anything but bring up the bottom line, to bring us all up to a little bit more even playing ground when we have all the resources to do so, and we fight so hard. We're not making any money doing it, but that belief system, the way that I look at myself before I go to sleep, the thing I need to know I did today is I fought super hard for those who couldn't fight for themselves.
mm-hmm.
And the more information that I learn, and thank you for sharing so much of yours because it's so important. The more we share of our own personal stories, no matter who you are, everyone gains from that in so many.
Whether they have, whether they're ready to hear it in the moment or later on, because sometimes,
It'll come back.
Yep.
Yep.
Because everyone's at a different place in their journey.
And they just need to know they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not alone, girl.
I know I have you.
You got me. And I'm a huge fan of yours. And what you've done, you must know, inspires me because, like we said before, we can't control the things that happen to us. But what we can control is what we do with it.
And our reactions.
And our reactions.
And behaviors.
And I don't see a lot of that in my day-to-day, you know? my day-to-day interactions with individuals, but I recognize it when I see it, and I saw it when I saw you. I just need to feel like I'm not the only person that's like, I will sacrifice everything that is me to make sure that these people get what they more than deserve. And to be seen by one other person who makes me feel a little bit more sane in the moment, let's rock and roll. Okay. I only ever needed one.
And just for our audience to know, I've never had female friends before. So
Oh yeah, no, the ladies
like number two.
yeah, the ladies don't always resonate with me either, but you know, time for friends is difficult. That's another story for another day. And thank you was the second part of that monologue, and thank you for attending my TED Talk. Apparently. What you've given my daughter when I can show her your videos. It's not just
you really, you have? I didn't know that. You didn't tell me.
Well, I don't have time to talk on the phone, but yes, I have shown her so many of them, but it's interesting because I didn't just purposefully, I don't show anything to Ava just because I'm like, hey, you have CP and so does she, like, let's watch a video. I show it to all my kids, and there's something to be learned by everybody.
Right.
I don't show my son Jonas a video about, astronomy because he loves that, and exclude everyone else. Like we said earlier, they'll take what resonates and they'll leave the rest. So I put them up. But if we were only going to talk about the feedback from Ava, it's always a very delighted smile that crosses her face. And I know that she feels seen. Like
good.
Oh, it's so good, Elena.
Because I didn't have that growing up.
Right. And that's why we're going to put this on blast, because there are so many.
I didn't have that growing up at all. So you know what I actually did? I went to the American Girl store and I bought myself a 1984 American Girl doll with crutches.
I bought it for Ava too.
I bought now for my 36th birthday.
Yes. Well, send me a picture. I'll send you one of hers.
Okay, I did. Wow.
Did you get Barbie in the wheelchair? I was like, what's up, Mattel? I loved it. Okay, that was big for her because she at the time was 6, maybe, when it first came out. And we go to Target all the time for toilet paper. And
can't believe they sell Barbie at Target now. Like when I was young, like it was like a big thing. Like you could only go to toy stores.
Right. I know. Well, don't get me started on all the nostalgia that I feel. But yes, it was a hairy Saturday morning getting them all in the car. I swear it was like trash bags, nothing sexy. It was trash bags, cleaning supplies, and toilet paper, whatever. I had no help. I was just like, everybody in the car. And the only way I could do it on a 20-degree day in Chicago was to be like, I'll buy you one toy. It has to be like this many dollars and below or free. Like, because it's not Christmas or your birthday. And I remembered as I was driving, I was like, wait, I just saw, because I follow Mattel everywhere, really. I think they have that out. So I wanted to look on my own. And I found it. And her face when she saw it, her giggle and her literal glee, like the very definition of glee, because this child, she didn't have crutches ever. I mean, it'd be super amazing if she could walk with crutches. She's been in a stander, in a walker, heavily supported, or a chair. And we're working so hard. And she's gonna meet her fullest potential. What I want for her is happiness. And what I want for her is to feel like, you know what? The whole world is different. Every single person is different. I'm not different. Look around. Everybody is different. But right. I needed that to be, at that time in her life, visible in the storefront. I needed her to see something that resonated with her and her face. And that's when I was like, oh, it's on, Mattel. This is going to be a long love story. Me and you. I think I just fell in love with you. Hey, we back, folks. I'll send you a picture of that too. It was like literally
Courtney in 1984. That was the closest, or 1986. It was 1980. She has 1986. Scene for her was, and I literally a couple months ago I went to the American Girl store and I picked out a doll, and I was like, and I would never know that as a kid. You would never see me.
Well, it also wasn't an option.
It didn't exist, but even if it did, I would have never done that.
Well, let's do a photo shoot then, because I think it'd be awesome. I think there's a lot of little girls that need to see that. And that bravery that you have, that thing that took you up off the floor when you lost your partner, right?
She did it.
Yeah.
So,
but a lot of it was you.
I know.
Don't forget.
I know.
Well, then just stop talking and I'll give you credit. Because I see you and I know what it takes to get up off the floor and funnel all that power, all that funny, all your, like, you got a lot of good, like, sarcasm and just so much love to give. And it is within healing others that hopefully, I truly believe though, that we heal ourselves. And thank you for what you've given to me. Thank you for what you've given to my daughter and all my children too, because they all learned something. And just keep going.
That's the plan.
Thank you so much for your time, Elena.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I know we've been trying to do this for a while. We finally did it.
Do you see my heart?
I love you more.
Heart arms. Sharing is caring, people. I loved it. We're going to follow up though on, I do still want to talk about like sex within, like all the topics that there's a lot of things that we need to talk about, but I feel like this was the best way to enter into, for the people who don't know.
So the series with Elena, this is good.
Series with Elena. Oh, yeah, maybe we'll get a different host, one that's a little bit more articulate.
You're perfectly fine. We should do one in person and like film it. I should come to Chicago and
I'm not like, don't threaten me with a good time.
Once are you settled in the house?
Yeah, I have things that I need to, that one room that like never, after you move, there's one room that still has boxes and just stays there for like 6 months. That's happening, but that's fine. You'll love it. Come on over. Red Rover.
That'll be my first trip.
Let's go. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your honest. That's what matters most to me. Most vulnerable experiences and the truth in your story, because there's a lot for others to hear in that. So much information, and it takes brass balls, people, to be able to do that.
I just say the truth. It's not, for me, it's nothing.
For me, it's nothing either, but for the people, that can be very hard.
Yes, I know. But there's no harm in it. I
adore you.
I love you too.
Come on over.
I am.
I can't wait to meet you.
I know.
Grace with Elena. Buckle up, buttercups. Bye. Thank you.